ability to be great. You have to be willing to activate the great from within. It starts with you, and it starts right now. You're in the mix on Activate the Great with Tyler Davis and Greg Thomas.
Back at it, man.
Yeah, every Monday.
You know it.
Without fail.
Consistency.
No doubt. I mean, you can you get away with skipping a day, right? You say that, then it turns into 2, then it turns into 3.
Oh,
then
yeah.
It's like you start wondering what you care about, right?
Well, big time.
Oh, man.
Or
Well, it
you
can
just
shift.
stop even wondering. Like,
Well,
I'm good.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether you're like it's non-conscious or conscious, you just like you start drifting towards certain things,
Yep.
So, which we're glad you're drifting towards Activate the Great, by the way.
That's what I'm talking about.
Subscribe, like it, tell
Share
a
it.
friend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody. Tell
yeah.
strangers.
Appreciate everything. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. And that's what it is. It's throwing it out there because everybody can benefit from the stuff, including us.
Share what you care about.
Yeah, man.
Come on.
Oh, yeah. Come on back.
Yeah, so you try to, obviously try to have a little play on words every time we get into this. But, like today, we really want to talk about, caring about self-care.
Yeah.
Right?
It's got to be the forefront of your mind.
I think there's ways to move the needle in that direction. The ear we're trying to bend here is someone that's kind of just on the fringe of like just need a little nudge,
Yeah.
And trying to make something happen. And how do you do that without making it feel like you're moving a mountain?
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
It's small, incremental adjustments.
Well, that's what it is. Self-care, though, like, when you think about that, that's a broad definition.
It is. Yeah. I mean, becoming self-aware that self-care is required, man. I mean,
Sure.
but what does that mean for you?
Right.
There are some universal truths to all of this, whether
some
it's being
baseline,
active,
right?
drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, like taking a multivitamin. These
Going
are
to the dentist.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But like that's what I want to get.
But
yeah.
that's huge.
Right.
Right.
What I'd say is universal about this is that every person can benefit from caring about self-care. Like by putting yourself at the epicenter of like the best life that you can possibly have across the board.
Yeah.
Like if you got a cavity, go get it fixed.
Yep. Because it's gonna affect.
Oh.
It's gonna affect everything. It's gonna affect your business for sure. Because if that's nagging, if that pain is always
sure.
there, man, you ain't gonna focus.
Well, just like anything, it's like working out and being active and doing fitness helps everything.
It does. My goodness, man, it's the glue of my life.
Oh.
It's the Elmer's.
Mm-hmm.
It gets applied every morning.
Right, but we can drift away from that, So, I mean, today we really just kind of want to dive in on a couple things. 3 reasons to care about self-care. Number 1, happiness is allowed.
Yeah. You don't need nobody's permission.
You don't need to have this normal feeling like crap or having aches and pains and doing all these things. Doesn't need to be normal. Doesn't need to be a baseline.
Right. Get rid of that the saying of, well, I'm just getting older. Bogus.
Yeah, I think we hide under that, right?
Well, yeah, because we will age, yes, but getting old is a choice.
Sure, you can age gracefully too by taking care of yourself, and we forget that we need to give ourselves permission to be happy and healthy and feel good about ourselves and not be trapped in our mind about whatever it may be or having these limiting beliefs based on a certain set of circumstances. For example, went and saw my guy, the really good with exercise science and muscle guy, and has helped me out in the past. And I was thinking I was having issues like cartilage. Maybe I need to go get cleaned up, with my ankle or whatever. Well, turns out the muscles were so tight, it was making the tendons tight. And that popping noise was something, just the tightness of that, not anything to do with like cartilage or anything like that. He's sitting there working it, doing his thing, and massaging it out a little bit, and then it stopped. And it's like,
Isn't that amazing?
Right. But it's like if I didn't take the time, make time for that, I would have had these limiting beliefs that, oh man, my ankle's really messed up. And then you make it real though.
Oh yeah.
When you don't go get it handled, when you don't go get something checked out, and you're just like, well, I'll just deal with it.
Right. I mean, I think all kinds of different aspects of that. A lot of times we just put a Band-Aid on one of the symptoms rather than addressing the actual source of the issue.
Sure.
And I think that can be easy when it comes to self-care to just, hey, I'm drinking enough water. Hey, I'm working out. But are you happy? Are you allowing yourself to be happy with it? Like maybe you don't enjoy that type of workout, but you think that because whoever they is, said that that's what you're supposed to do, that's what you do.
Well, you just made me think of something like these, what are your happiness triggers? Mm-hmm. Right? What is something that that you can go to and it's going to get you into that right frame of mind? Because if you can hang out there and start making that your normal feeling, like, hey, you know, I don't have to have my fight or flight mechanism engaged at all times. I don't have to delude myself by not going and getting something looked at like I was for a little while, you know, and I really kind of teeing myself up for like an upcoming, I know a surgery that I'm going to need to have and want to have before, you know, the things that I find valuable, you know, are out of reach. You know, and that's another thing, okay? Happiness, what are your values? What are these things? You might want to take inventory of those and find out what they really are. And maybe that's what motivates you and kind of pushes you towards self-care, because the last thing you want to do is find out what you find valuable and then find out it's out of reach because you let it go too long.
Oh man, for sure. Yeah.
Let it land.
I mean, it's funny that you say that surgery thing. Like for me, you know, this last January, it was a big thing. I put it off for 11 years. Until all of a sudden, exactly what you're saying. I was like, hey, why don't I allow happiness in my life and just go ahead and get this done? And within a week, consultation, under the knife, bam.
And all you have to do is surrender.
Right.
And it's a moment from now. A moment ago you were not. A moment from now you are. And you're like, all right, let's go do it. And all you got to do is show up at that point. Right? Or keep showing up. Right? Keep showing up for yourself. Keep showing up to, you know, for your happiness.
That's what it's all about.
It's allowed. Number 2, we only get one body.
Only one.
Well, and we talk about like compound effect, right? From like not going and getting something checked out, right? So let's say something is wrong. So now you start to compensate. Your body's kind of like in your spine and your alignment, everything's kind of like Jenga. You know, it's just going to move. It will keep moving. One thing will move. This will move. This will move. You don't get something checked out, then it leads to a hip problem. Then it leads to a back problem. You know, then, you know, you're not, instead of just having one surgery or having one thing checked out or one regiment of self-care, now you get to embark on 4 or 5.
Absolutely. And that's one of the, man, I always tell folks when I'm working with them, I was like, so you drive your vehicle, right? Do you get your oil changed every 3,000 miles? They're like, yeah. I'm like, why do you do that? Well, you're supposed to. It's preventative maintenance so that it doesn't break down. Well, why don't you do the same thing for your body?
Well,
we don't.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think it comes back to, you know, putting yourself in a position to feel as great as you can, to be as happy as you can be. You know, kind of drifts back to that first point. Once we have a shift in our willingness to be happy, our choice, our decisions, what we're willing to align ourselves with, what we're willing to do for ourselves, then you can realize that you've got one body. Like, oh man, I better start taking care of this stuff. I better, you know, before what I find valuable is out of reach, like tremendous health. You know, experiencing life, moving, grooving, out there doing things, playing with kids.
And it's never too late.
No.
It's never too late. I mean, I was at the point physically where it was a big crossroads. Like it was pretty much like, hey, this is too late. BS. No, it's not.
No.
Like if I could bottle up for somebody that's maybe not feeling their best to how I feel today versus how I felt then, and you could just experience it for a day.
Man, your body's way more resilient than you think.
It's the mind that gives up.
That's it. It's a lot of the things that we talk about is how to get control of your mind, how to choose control. And then when you start choosing that and you realize the power of choice and how much of a choice you actually have, then you start diving in like, well, hey, I got one body. Let's go. What can we make happen here? Right? So something, food for thought, right? You know, get control of your mind. And guess what? Then you get control of your body. And lastly, perfect segue. Number 3, a little bit goes a long way. 1% a day. I mean, let's not get caught up in the hiding mirage of, oh, it's exhausting to think about. It's just too big to tackle. Not 1% of it. It's not.
No, I see it all the time, man. It's like we get so excited and get that motivation and we just go like hell and just do too much too quick. And it just burns us out because that's not sustainable. Like start by going for a walk around the block and then add another block.
This is kind of an extreme scenario, but what we do to ourselves is so absurd. Here's an example of how absurd it is from what we say to ourselves when it comes to this stuff. Could you imagine the sun getting stressed out because it wasn't melting snow fast enough?
Nope.
What? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to move that thermostat. The temperature's going to go up 1 degree at a time, and you're going to see how far that 1 degree gets you. And guess what? You're going to be ready for the next degree and the next degree and the next degree. We're talking 1% incremental. And when you hear that, like, of course, no, the sun would never feel bad about not melting snow fast enough. Well, then why do we? We all do it.
And you can't skip steps.
No. When you start skipping steps, you're not falling in love with the process. You're not paying attention to the little wins. You're not saying, hey, look at the gain. Look at the 1% I gained today.
And even more so, I would say, to piggyback off of that, you don't appreciate it as much. I mean, I think for me, one of the things that I find so fascinating and I'm so grateful for fitness is no one did it for me. It was one of the first times in my life that I couldn't ask anybody for help. I had to step up.
Yep.
I had to show up. I had to do every rep. And in the same token, nobody can take it away from me. So that allows that extra happiness because you do it for yourself.
Well,
self-empowerment.
It's all encompassing, right? And the fact that it's incremental, right, makes you fall in love with it, right? It's not a here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, there's,
practice.
It is.
Time, practice, patience.
That's it. And you fall in love with the process. And
have to.
Well, that's really what it comes down to is you're like, oh, I get to do these things.
Yeah, man.
And that's more of a we get one body mindset.
Exactly.
I get to go and do this. I know I've been using that as fuel for me personally. When I didn't want to get out of bed, and this morning I woke up at 4:35, no alarm.
Yep.
Up.
Yep.
Right?
I
get to be.
Yep.
Look, man, look at me rolling out of bed without help. Look at me being able to go and walk over here without any pain or doing this or doing that, and
it's a blessing.
But just a couple months ago, without going and getting checked out and seeing the proper diagnosis and doing the proper self-care, went and got a deep tissue massage, got whooped. But, there's some things that I'm using in conjunction with some stuff from from chiropractor type standpoint, whatever it takes to get yourself right.
Whatever it takes.
Because again, you deserve happiness. So 3 reasons to care about self-care. Number 1, happiness is allowed. Number 2, we only get one body. And number 3, a little bit goes a long way. 1%, people. Yeah. We're talking about 1% more self-care than you did yesterday.
Man.
And then tomorrow, just another 1%.
Exactly. Pick something for this week. Focus on that. Next week, add another thing.
And what you're doing is you're focusing on something positive.
Yeah.
You're moving the needle in a positive direction. Incremental or not, we don't need big gains.
No, you're worthy and you deserve it.
110%, one bit at a time. And we'll be here just like always, 1 week at a time. We'll catch you next week. It's going to be hot, and we're looking forward to it. See you. Want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, ccmindiana.com, for all your mortgage needs. Very competitive, ready to rock, ready to help you be a pre-approved buyer that can compete. Ready to get pre-approved for your next mortgage? Stop by ccmindiana.com and see how we can help.